Kaisar Bagh, the heart of Lucknow. Built as a palace complex by Wajid Ali Shah, last ruler of Lucknow. Wajid Ali Shah was born in the Chhatar Manzil, the home of his ancestors. At the age of 25 years, he became the 11th ruler of Lucknow in 1847. It was his desire now to move further east from the planning and plotting at the Chhatar Manzil, away from the British parked at the Residency, interfering consistently in affairs of the ruler, making it impossible for the rulers of Lucknow to take care of their kingdom. Wajid Ali Shah asked Ahmad Ali Khan to design a dream palace, a paradise on earth, a retreat from reality. The palace was completed in 2 years. Wajid Ali Shah was happy to step out of the Chhatar Manzil and into the Kaisar Bagh Palace in 1850. He called his palace Kaisar Bagh, the garden abode of a Khusro, Caesar or Kaiser, as the king is called in different parts of the world. But why are we talking about Kaisar Bagh today? Because Kaisar Bagh was not always the way it is now, so noisy and neglected. This presentation is an invitation to all of us to imagine Kaisar Bagh as it was till 1858 and before Wajid Ali Shah was bullied out of Lucknow by the British forever. Today we need to know how glorious Kaisar Bagh once was, so that we are inspired to take care of it, to save it, whatever little still remains of that beautiful complex, where the gardens were once dotted with marble pillars and pavilions and red sandstone platforms. Some buildings already stood here from before, which Wajid Ali Shah included into the Kaisar Bagh Palace complex. The tombs of Sadat Ali Khan, 5th Nawab, and his wife Begum Khurshid Zadi from 1815 was enclosed into the Kaisar Bagh garden within the complex. Wajid Ali Shah paid Azimullah Khan, his grandfather's barber, rupees 4 lakhs for the Koti Chaulakhi on the east end, of which there are no photographs or paintings because it was completely destroyed by the British. He also took possession of the Koti Roshan-ud-Daula on the southern tip of the quadrangle. The handsome Roshan-ud-Daula Koti was called Kaisar Pasand by Wajid Ali Shah. It became the home of Mashook Mahal, a favorite wife of Wajid Ali Shah. This is what Koti Roshan-ud-Daula, Wajid Ali Shah's Kaisar Pasand looks like today. The Chaulakhi Koti was demolished by the British soon after the fall of Lucknow in 1858. This Koti was the home of Begum Khas Mahal, who left for Kolkata with Wajid Ali Shah in 1856. Perhaps Begum Hazrat Mahal, a wife of Wajid Ali Shah, who had stayed on in Lucknow with their son Birjiz Qadar, moved into the Chaulakhi Koti, and where she held darbar and mobilized rebel forces to fight the British. After the British deposed Wajid Ali Shah, Begum Hazrat Mahal declared their 11-year-old son Birjiz Qadar as the successor of Wajid Ali Shah. Birjiz was coronated Nawab of Awadh with the support of court nobles and all forces that were against the British in June 1857, and Begum Hazrat Mahal ruled Awadh as regent till August 1958. It was late evening on 12th March 1856. A fleet of horse-drawn carriages tottered up to the Qaisar Bagh courtyard, waiting to transport Wajid Ali Shah, his mother, Janab-e Alia, 3 of his wives, his brother and eldest son and heir, Hamid Ali, to Kanpur. A large group of courtiers and supporting staff were part of the departing caravan. The carriages slowly left Qaisar Bagh in the direction of Hazratganj. According to an eyewitness, crowds of people suffering from grief and loss had collected. Sobbing and wailing, they lined the streets. All markets were deserted as desperate men and women rushed to catch a last glimpse of their beloved Akhtarpia. The line of carriages steadily moved onwards and onwards till the sound of the clip-clopping of horses dimmed and faded away. Begum Hazrat Mahal took over from where her husband Wajid Ali Shah had left. She led rebel forces to victory at the Battle of Chinhat, forcing the British to hide in the Residency. But after many street battles, the British conquered Lucknow. When Begum Hazrat Mahal heard that the British troops had marched from Hazratganj into the gates of Qaisar Bagh, she escaped the palace complex through this western lucky gate. Along with her son, she disappeared into the countryside, continuing to rally rebel forces against the British. Once the local rebels were completely crushed, Begum Hazrat Mahal crossed the Rapti river and paid handsomely the ruler of Nepal to allow her refuge in Kathmandu. And that is where she died. She refused to seek pardon from the victorious British in the 1857 War of Independence, waged against them by the local people led by the very brave Begum Hazrat Mahal. Because the rebellion was flagged off by Begum Hazrat Mahal from this quarter of Qaisar Bagh, the entire block of buildings were razed to the ground. This was the corner with the private quarters of Wajid Ali Shah. His koti was called Khas Muqam. Nearby was the Chaulakki Koti, of which not one photograph or painting survives. But this is how the Chaulakhi Gate looked on the northeastern corner of Kaisarbagh before it was destroyed. The silver Baradari in the vicinity has vanished, and the grand Lanka building against the southern eastern wall of the Kaisarbagh quadrangle was bulldozed as well, called Lanka because the structure stood on a platform on 8 pillars with water flowing around it, making it resemble the island country of Sri Lanka. Architecturally speaking, Kaisarbagh was the opposite to a fortress built by earlier rulers for defense purposes. Kaisarbagh was more of a fantasy, full of fluff place, combining elements of Indian and European features, surrounded by gardens, pavilions, rose-scented water channels, tanks, and pathways, also used as a backdrop for theatre productions. Today, little remains of this paradise on earth, covered in numerous vineyards once, except for the Safed Baradari and 2 Lakhi gates. Kaisarbagh was meant to provide beauty instead of defense, to be used as a place of pleasure and entertainment. The priority was garden, not battleground. Wajid Ali Shah lived with constant threat from the British that his administration will be taken over by the East India Company if many conditions. Wajid Ali Shah wrote to the British representative to Awadh or to the resident that he relied on the friendship of the East India Company entirely for preserving his kingdom from domestic and foreign foes. Wajid Ali Shah was asked to abandon his project of streamlining his troops and to devote his attention to public matters. But the British blocked him from taking any decisions on public matters as well. A dejected Wajid Ali Shah went back to what he loved the most, the arts and romance. Back among his old group of poet friends and musicians. Let's walk into Wajid Ali Shah's Kaisarbagh, as it must have been in the mid-19th century. I presume there was an entrance where the Press Club building stands today. This is perhaps where the main gate was in the north. Turning left, once inside the quadrangle, visitors walked in between the outer wall and an inner wall, through a bustling bazaar where the porcelain and silks sold came from China. Along the same path was the Meena Bazaar, overflowing with colorful goods from here and abroad. The Mermaid Gate on the right, entry to which was only by invitation, led into the lush Huzur Bagh gardens surrounding the Baradari, the heart of the palace complex, and completely forbidden to outsiders. The outer walls of the quadrangle were lined with 2-storied homes for family and employees of the ruler, like the Kotwara House, Salimpur House, and the Mahmudabad House, with the residence of the Prime Minister in close proximity to that of Wajid Ali Shah. It is perhaps somewhere here in the Huzur Bagh that the gigantic banyan tree must have stood, its trunk surrounded by a circular seating place in marble, replaced now by wrought iron benches. We have to imagine Wajid Ali Shah sitting here, dressed in saffron-colored clothing, his hair wild and his body covered in ash, collected from several kilos of crushed pearls, and in celebration of the Jogya Fair, held annually around his birthday on the 30th of July. When the outer gates of the palace were opened to the public that was forever hungry for a darshan of Akhtar Pia, their beloved ruler, Wajid Ali Shah. This is where Wajid Ali Shah met citizens several times in a year. The Qaisar Bagh welcomed the entire city to be entertained inside the outer quarters of the palace by Wajid Ali Shah himself. The Qaisar Bagh complex was a square divided into 3 inner areas. Inside the gate in the north was a large quadrangle, and beyond this the China Bazaar. On the left was the Mermaid Gate, the gate within a gate. To the right was a sprawling garden called Hazrat Bagh towards the northwest, and surrounding the tombs of Sadat Ali Khan, 5th Nawab of Awadh, and his wife Begum Khurshid Zadi from 1815. Maybe the Chandni Baradari with its roof, walls and pillars covered in silver stood in Hazrat Bagh, or was it further down southeast closer to the Char Bagh gardens? Perhaps it was next to Kothi Khas Maqam where Wajid Ali Shah lived. I am unable to tell for sure. What we know for sure is that the silver on the roof, walls and ceiling was looted and the Baradari badly damaged by British soldiers, and that it does not exist anymore. As Begum Hazrat Mahal had her headquarters here at the Chaulakhi Khoti, this area became the main battleground during the First War of Independence against the British in 1858. British soldiers had stormed Qaisar Bagh, breaking open the main gate, looting homes and damaging houses, to eventually fly a victory flag over the silver Baradari. British officials wanted to level to the ground Qaisar Bagh, as that was the palace where the chief enemies had resided and from where Begum Hazrat Mahal had issued proclamations and orders against the British. Addressing her troops regularly and maintaining their morale and her own, showing them that they were in it together, fighting for their king, her son. Writes W.H. Russell, the Times war reporter, British soldiers smashed down doors and broke into rooms in a frenzy of loot and destruction. The British desire to take revenge was so intense that Nawabi buildings were destroyed completely. They felt that in Lucknow only such buildings should be preserved that were useful to them for military or other purposes. No mosque, no temple should be spared, was the decree. Lord Charles John Canning, Governor General of British territories in India, made a new settlement with the Talukadars, the landlords of Awadh, turning over a large portion of the remaining Qaisar Bagh homes to the Talukadars for use as their city residence. The Safed Baradari was gifted away to the Talukadars as well. It is still in their possession. The British carried out a post-1858 clearance and restoration drive in Lucknow. All the sprawling greenery was rearranged. Roads were ruthlessly bulldozed through gardens and buildings, and gates pulled down. Near the northern wall of Kaisarbagh was a majestic gate called Sher Darwaza. From the top of this gate, Mazhar Ali, a soldier in the British Indian Army, had shot dead Major H.S. Neil, his British commanding officer. The British naturally hanged Mazhar Ali and changed the name of Sher Darwaza to Neil Gate. And as you may notice, there is not much left of the lion here, although a little bit of the Neil Gate still stands. The Kaisarbagh complex, when approached from the Chaulakki Gate on the eastern tip of the quadrangle, led into a private marketplace for those living in the palace. Then into a beautiful Chinese garden leading into Huzur Bagh, where Wajid Ali Shah, remember, had met citizens dressed as a fakir and under the shade of a large tree. Further up north stood a series of gates, including the Mermaid Gate or the Jalpari Darwaza. A pair of fish was the official emblem of the Nawabs of Awadh, but Wajid Ali Shah converted the fish motifs into mermaids with bright green tails of the Jalpari, still found on buildings built by Wajid Ali Shah. In front of the Jalpari Gate was a spiral staircase which returned one back to the bottom of the stairs after a climb. The second square was an area meant for special guests, and the inner courtyard was where Wajid Ali Shah lived and where the homes of the women of his household stood. The Safed Baradari was surrounded by gardens like the Char Bagh, Kaisarbagh, Huzur Bagh and Hazrat Bagh. Entry into the inner courtyard was through the Lakhi gates in the east and west, called Lakhi because each gate cost 1 lakh of rupees to build. In the westernmost corner of the quadrangle was the Parikhana, the home of hundreds of dancers who performed on special occasions before special guests. The high platform of the Lanka building was levelled and the Amir-ud-Daulah Public Library was built in place of the Lanka in 1926. During the last years of the Awadh court, the Nawab and his companions turned to theatricals and to musical performances. Wajid Ali Shah surrounded himself with dancing girls, singers, actresses who performed in the Kaisarbagh. Performances were held on the raised platform of the Lanka building, but simultaneously also within dozens of marble and red sandstone pavilions dotting the inner courtyards of the Kaisarbagh. The Bhatkhande Music Institute is only part of a sprawling housing complex of Wajid Ali Shah's fairies or paris. From the Parikhana, the dancers would cross the rose-scented water canals flowing east to west and north to south in between the greenery, and over a marble bridge that still stands from 1850. On this bridge, I thought I had spied a pari the other day. I asked her if she was a red pari or a green one. She looked at me in surprise and said, "What?" Why was I talking to her about the 19th century? The bridge, she said, is new. It was built just a few years ago. And then she disappeared. two young men I found photographing each other on the same bridge. "Who do you think built this bridge?" I asked. "Well, some king, I think, called Hazrat Mahal," one of them said hesitatingly before he walked away. It is for youngsters like these that I have documented Kaisar Bagh in a video. The idea is to introduce children to our shared common history and heritage in hope that by knowing their past, they can make their present and their future as beautiful as Lucknow's Baradari once was.